Farmer to U.S. President George Washington. On April 30, 1799.
Farmer to U.S. President George Washington. On April 30, 1799, George Washington was sworn in as the first President of the United States, standing on the balcony of Federal Hall in Wall Street, New York. He later wrote to James Madison, "In our present situation we shall first of all work to establish precedent. For my part, one sincerely hope that these examples will be founded on true principles." George Washington was born in 1732 to a farming family in Virginia. There he received the moral education, manners, and knowledge required of an 18th-century Virginia gentleman. He was always very enthusiastic about both subjects and practiced them. And they are military strategy and Western expansion. At the age of 16, he helped with the Shenandoah Land Survey. Commissioned as a lieutenant colonel in 1754, he first fought in what would later become the French and Indian War. The following year, Washington served as an aide to General Edward Braddock. He escaped for a while, though 4 bullets pierced his coat and 2 horses were shot dead as he mounted. From 1769 until the American Revolution, George Washington tended his estates around Mount Vernon and served in the Virginia House of Burgesses. George married a widow named Martha Danridge Custis. Later he found himself living a very busy and happy life. But like many of his companions, Washington felt oppressed by British traders and victimized by British regulations. As the conflict with the ruling country escalated, he gradually protested against the restrictions. In May 1775, the Second Continental Congress was held in Philadelphia. As one of Virginia's delegates, Washington was elected Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. On July 3, 1775, he took charge of his poorly trained army at Cambridge, Massachusetts, and engaged in a war that lasted 6 years. Early on he realized that harassing the British would be the best strategy. He wrote to Congress, "Under no circumstances should we avoid any general action or risk anything unless compelled by necessity." Later battles saw him retreat slowly at first and then attack suddenly. Finally, with the help of French allies, he forced Cornwallis to surrender at Yorktown in 1781. Washington wanted him to retire to Mount Vernon. But very soon he realized that his country was not doing well under the Articles of Confederation. And that is why he played the role of the main entrepreneur behind the Constitutional Convention that was held in Philadelphia in 1787. When the new Constitution was ratified, the Electoral College unanimously elected Washington as president. Washington did not see the need to curtail the policy-making powers granted to Congress in the U.S. Constitution. But foreign policy making naturally becomes an important issue for the president. When the French Revolution led to a major war between France and England, Washington did not fully accept the advice of his Secretary of State, Thomas Jefferson, or Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton. Rather, he insisted on a neutral approach until the United States became stronger. Note that Jefferson was for France and Hamilton was for Britain. Although the matter was not to his liking, two factions were emerging towards the end of his first term. Tired of politics and seemed to be getting old, he retired at the end of his second term. In his farewell address, he appealed to the countrymen to shun excessive partisanship and geographical differences. In foreign affairs, he cautioned against long-term alliances. Washington enjoyed 3 years of retirement at Mount Vernon. Died on the 14th of December 1799 due to throat infection. The nation mourned him for months. By Aktaruzzaman, Bangladesh.